narcissist's hold over you is maintained by one crucial element: your emotional energy. Your responses, whether they emerge as anger, fear, or even affection, serve as the fuel for their psychological engine. This dynamic is deeply troubling. The more you invest your emotions, the more power you unwittingly surrender. They provoke and manipulate, distorting reality not for the sake of conflict, but because your emotional involvement reassures them of their control. Realizing this, the most effective and immediate action you can take is to withdraw that emotional supply completely. Consider how a narcissist functions. They are inherently reliant on external validation to support their fragile self-image. Beneath their arrogance and grandiosity lies a deep-seated insecurity, an emptiness that cannot be filled from within. This is why your emotional reactions are so crucial to them. Each time you respond, whether with anger or despair, you inadvertently reinforce their dominance. They don't require your admiration. Even disdain or hostility serves their purpose. What they cannot bear is indifference. Indifference strikes at the heart of their psychological makeup, suggesting they no longer hold enough significance to impact you. However, withdrawing your emotional supply is not simply about cutting off direct contact. It involves a profound psychological shift. It demands a reconfiguration of your inner world, a deliberate choice to stop allowing their words or actions to dictate your emotional state. The sadness in this realization is palpable. It highlights the depth of their need and the toll it takes on your spirit. Navigating the treacherous waters of a narcissist's mind is a daunting task, for they are masters at exploiting the very vulnerabilities you strive to shield. They know exactly where to strike, having meticulously observed your weaknesses over time, and they will relentlessly attack as long as those wounds remain exposed. This is where the art of detachment becomes crucial, not a frigid, cynical retreat from existence, but a steadfast refusal to grant the narcissist the reactions they crave. When they provoke you, they anticipate a response, feeding off your emotional turmoil. But if you can maintain your composure, the balance of power shifts ominously. They lose their grip on your psyche, and in that chilling moment, their dominion over you begins to unravel. It's vital to understand that emotional withdrawal does not equate to burying your feelings. Many fall into this trap, mistakenly believing that suppression will shield them. Instead, it merely drives the pain deeper, allowing it to fester like a hidden wound. You must confront those emotions fully, but do so beyond their reach. Confide in a trusted friend. Pour your thoughts into a journal, or seek professional help if needed. Do not return to the narcissist, hoping that your suffering will evoke their empathy. It will not. Each attempt to elicit compassion only tightens their grip on you. You might wonder why this strategy proves so effective. The answer lies in the parasitic nature of a narcissist's power. They cannot maintain their inflated sense of superiority without external validation. When you stop providing that validation, they are forced to face the gaping void within themselves, a prospect that is as terrifying as it is inevitable. Their entire psychological defense mechanism is crafted to shield them from any confrontation. So, when you pull away, they frantically scramble to reclaim their dominion. They might intensify their tactics, wielding guilt, shame, or even an unsettling surge of affection to draw you back into their web. This is not an indication of their care. It reveals the cracks in their control. Yet, you must stand firm. This is the moment of their greatest vulnerability, not yours. If you engage, you merely reset the cycle of manipulation. If you hold your ground, you sever the bond forever. There is a chilling freedom in realizing you are no longer an emotional prisoner. You reclaim your autonomy, and perhaps most crucially, you begin to see the stark truth of who they are. Not the polished facade you once adored, but the sinister manipulator lurking just beneath the surface. Some may claim this is cruel, that withdrawing emotionally is a form of vengeance, but it is not vengeance. It is a desperate act of self-preservation. You are not inflicting harm by reclaiming your emotional space. You are simply refusing to play a game that was always rigged against you. Once you step outside that twisted game, you uncover the true extent of your power. It lies in unwavering consistency. Sporadic detachment will not suffice. You must commit to a complete and resolute withdrawal. This entails no emotional pleas, no attempts to justify yourself, and no succumbing to their provocations. Each time you engage, you nourish the cycle. Each time you refuse, you weaken their grip. Here's the ultimate reality: a narcissist cannot exist without an audience. As soon as you cease to be that audience, their facade starts to crumble, and once it does, it cannot be repaired. You are not required to bear their emotional weight. You are not accountable for tending to their delicate ego. Your responsibility lies with yourself, your peace, your dignity, and your freedom. The most effective strategy against a narcissist is to become psychologically unreachable. When they realize they can no longer affect you or provoke a response, that's when their power disintegrates, and with that disintegration, you gain your freedom. To comprehend the psychological dynamics that uphold a narcissist's control over you, it's essential to recognize the significance of unpredictability. Narcissists excel at fostering emotional instability. They don't exert control through brute force or logical debate. Rather, they keep you psychologically unsteady through a cycle of mixed signals and sporadic reinforcement. This is one of the most effective and harmful forms of manipulation, as it exploits the human desire for consistency and affirmation. Picture a situation where someone oscillates between warmth and cruelty. One moment, they appear to care deeply, perhaps more than anyone ever has. The next, they withdraw, criticize, or belittle you. This inconsistency creates a significant psychological impact. When kindness and cruelty are delivered erratically, your mind becomes fixated on finding that next moment of affection. This isn't merely a psychological concept, it is deeply embedded in behavioral science. Research on intermittent reinforcement reveals that individuals tend to invest more effort and develop stronger attachments to rewards that are given sporadically rather than those that are consistently provided. In simpler terms, the more unpredictable their affection, the harder you find yourself pursuing it. The painful truth is that the narcissist is aware of this, whether they realize it or not. They know that by unsettling your emotional landscape, they tighten their hold on you. You become ensnared in a relentless quest for validation from the very person who withholds it, and because their moments of kindness are so rare and erratic, they feel infinitely more precious when they do occur. This is how they keep you trapped in a cycle of psychological torment. What makes this dynamic even more heartbreaking is that it often disguises itself as love. The highs can feel intoxicating, and when a narcissist bestows praise or affection, it can seem profound, almost otherworldly, because it is so fleeting. Yet, here lies the sorrowful reality: true love does not thrive on emotional scarcity. Authentic affection should never be something you have to earn through pain. What you are experiencing is not love. It is manipulation. The longer you remain entangled in this web, the harder it becomes to recognize the truth. Escaping this psychological hold demands a significant shift in perspective. You must first accept that the affection they provide is not a sign of love. It is merely bait. Once you come to understand that the unpredictability is a mechanism meant to keep you under control, you start to reclaim a sense of your own power. This realization is crucial, for without it, you find yourself ensnared in a relentless cycle of yearning for change that will never materialize. Yet, merely grasping this concept on an intellectual level is insufficient. Action is required. This is where the hardest part lies. You must withdraw from the game entirely. The narcissist's influence hinges on your emotional involvement. They can only continue to manipulate you if you engage with their provocations. This means resisting the urge to decipher their mixed messages, to seek their approval, or to justify their actions. When you let go of the need for their validation, the entire facade begins to crumble. The difficulty of this process stems from the necessity of confronting your own vulnerabilities. Why do you crave their approval so intensely? Why does their affection seem so vital? Often, the answers lie in deeper, unresolved wounds. Perhaps a yearning for love that was missing in your childhood, or a belief that your value is contingent upon how others perceive you. Narcissists exploit these wounds with ruthless precision, but within this pain lies an opportunity. By facing these vulnerabilities head-on and understanding their roots, you can begin to cut the psychological strings that tether you to the narcissist's grasp. It's also essential to remember that the chaos they instigate does not define your worth. It is merely a reflection of their own dysfunction. The journey to liberation is fraught with sadness, as it forces you to confront the love you never received and the validation you so desperately sought. Their inability to provide stable, unwavering love has nothing to do with your worth. It is rooted in their own emotional turmoil, a turmoil you did not create and cannot mend. Once you fully comprehend this grim reality, you cease to internalize their actions as reflections of your value. You begin to see their manipulations for what they truly are: a frantic grasp for control in a life they cannot navigate. The moment you withdraw from their emotional tempest, their power starts to disintegrate. They will attempt to reel you back in. They will intensify their tactics, showering you with extravagant displays of affection or hurling vicious accusations, sensing their grip slipping away. But if you stand firm, if you refuse to play their twisted game, you break free from their chains. The chaos that once ensnared you becomes insignificant as you no longer crave their validation. And here lies the darkest truth. The most potent revenge against a narcissist is to cultivate your psychological independence. When you stop reacting to their manipulation, when their turmoil no longer disturbs your tranquility, you strip them of their power. You need not confront them directly. Simply refuse to be their emotional sustenance. This is the move that shatters their dominion entirely. Your liberation begins the moment you choose to stop seeking their approval. No longer will their chaos disrupt your peace. You render them powerless. This is the action that utterly dismantles their hold over you. Your journey to freedom begins the moment you choose to stop craving their approval. When you come to the painful realization that their affection is merely a weapon for manipulation, you break free from their erratic game. Walking away from that turmoil leads you into a life where your value is no longer determined by anyone else. It is essential to grasp the narcissist's reliance on your emotional reactions. If you hope to escape their psychological clutches, their power is not self-sustaining. It thrives on your responses. Each time you react to their provocations, each time you defend yourself against their accusations or attempt to clarify their misrepresentations, you inadvertently nourish the cycle that keeps them in control. This is not just a trivial exchange of words or feelings. It is a deep psychological transaction where your emotional energy becomes their lifeblood. At their core, the narcissist is deeply fragile. Behind the facade of arrogance and superiority lies a profound insecurity, an emptiness they cannot bear to face. To uphold their delicate sense of self, they seek external validation, but it is not love, respect, or mutuality they desire. It is control. They need to know they can influence your inner world. If they can provoke your anger, instill doubt in your mind, or force you to justify your existence to them, then they have succeeded in their aim. The weight of this realization can be heavy, as it reveals the depths of their manipulation and the toll it takes on your spirit. In those moments, they are not without power. They are the focus of your attention. For someone who fears their own inner void, that means everything. This is why they engage in constant criticism, subtle sabotage, and unpredictable mood changes. All of this serves one main goal: to keep you emotionally reactive. Whether your reaction is positive or negative doesn't matter. What matters is that you are involved. They thrive on your emotional energy because it reassures them that they still have psychological control over you. But without that, they are left to confront their own inadequacies, an unbearable situation for someone whose identity relies on dominating others. But here's the truth. They don't want you to grasp you can deprive them of this power. The moment you stop reacting, their entire system of control starts to crumble. This isn't about being passive or weak. It's about strategic disengagement. It's understanding that you don't owe them an emotional response, especially when that's exactly what they're trying to provoke. When you stop providing them with the fuel of your frustration, fear, or self-doubt, they lose the ability to dictate your reality. This is not easy, as everything about their behavior is crafted to pull you in. They are aware of your vulnerabilities and know the words that will hurt the most. When they sense you distancing yourself, they will intensify their tactics. They may switch from criticism to compliments. They might unexpectedly provide the affection you've been longing for, presenting the hope that perhaps this time they will truly change. On the other hand, they could react with even more intensity, resorting to threats or guilt to draw you back into their emotional sphere. However, all these tactics have a common aim: to provoke a response. Recognizing this gives you an advantage. The desire that maybe this time they will genuinely change, or alternatively, their potential for increased aggression through threats or guilt, all serve the same purpose: to elicit a reaction. Acknowledging this grants you significant power, the ability to deny them what they want. It's crucial to understand that not reacting doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It's not about numbing yourself or pretending their actions don't hurt. It's about regaining control over what impacts you. It's a conscious decision to prevent their turmoil from invading your inner peace. By making this choice, you assert something significant: your emotional well-being is not their playground. Your mind is not their battlefield. You are not theirs to control. When you choose not to engage, their response is both predictable and telling. Initially, they will intensify their attempts to provoke you. They will intensify their efforts and push your limits more forcefully, driven by a need to regain the balance where they hold power, and you react. However, if you remain resolute and stand your ground, they will start to fall apart. Without your emotional reactions to support their fragile self-image, the flaws in their carefully constructed facade begin to emerge. You cease to be a willing participant in their psychological manipulation, and without your involvement, the game cannot proceed. The ultimate irony is that what frightens a narcissist the most is not your anger or retaliation. It is your indifference. Indifference indicates that they no longer hold significance. It conveys, in the most profound manner, that their influence over your emotions has ended. For someone who depends on external validation to maintain their identity, this realization is crushing. When you stop responding, you compel them to confront the emptiness within themselves, a void they have spent their lives trying to evade. This is why disengagement is the one action that dismantles their control over you. It demands discipline, clarity, and most importantly, the belief that your emotional independence is worth protecting, because it truly is. The moment you determine that your peace is more precious than their turmoil, you reclaim a freedom that they cannot infringe upon. The truth is straightforward, yet it is not easy. They cannot manipulate what you do not allow them to access. When you cease to react, you starve their illusion of dominance. And as that illusion crumbles, you break free from their chains. You escape, not just from their grasp, but from the entire web that once ensnared you. Once you savor that liberation, a chilling truth emerges, one they desperately sought to keep hidden. You were never truly powerless. Not in the past, not in the present, not ever. One of the most haunting realizations you can encounter while extricating yourself from a narcissist is the vital importance of boundaries. Not merely as shields for your well-being, but as weapons that dismantle their hold over you. A narcissist's grip thrives in the absence of clear, unyielding limits. Without boundaries, they roam freely, twisting your thoughts, invading your emotional sanctuary, and obscuring the distinction between their desires and your own. Establishing and enforcing boundaries is not just a defensive maneuver. It is a bold strike at the very core of their influence. Narcissists loathe boundaries for a singular reason: they signify your independence. When you draw a line and resolutely refuse to let it be crossed, you send a chilling message: I exist as a being apart from you. This poses a direct threat to the narcissist's need for control and entanglement. They thrive on dominance, and boundaries signify the one thing they cannot bear: to lose access to you as a resource. They do not see you as an autonomous individual with your own needs and desires. Instead, you are merely a tool for validation, attention, and power. And in their view, a tool has no right to refuse. This is why, when you start to establish boundaries, the narcissist's facade begins to falter. They may pretend to be confused, asking, "Why are you being so difficult?" They might label you as selfish or cruel for daring to prioritize your own well-being. They may attempt to manipulate you into submission by reminding you of all they have done for you, or by casting themselves as a victim of your newfound independence. However, these are simply desperate efforts to regain control over your emotional life. It's crucial to understand that a narcissist cannot honor boundaries, because doing so would require them to recognize that you are not an extension of their desires, and they are either unwilling or unable to see you in that light. This situation does not reflect your value. Rather, it exposes their dysfunction. Their failure to accept your autonomy is their flaw, not yours. When you come to grips with this unsettling truth, you start to perceive the dark strength that resides in your capacity to refuse and truly mean it. Yet, for boundaries to wield their power, they must transcend mere words. The narcissist is a master at exploiting any hint of weakness. The moment they detect even the faintest flicker of doubt in your determination, they will relentlessly assault your defenses until they shatter. This is why your boundaries must be unmistakable, unwavering, and utterly non-negotiable. Simply stating, "I will not accept disrespect," is insufficient. If you continue to engage with them after they breach that line, your actions must echo your declarations. Should they transgress a boundary, there must be repercussions. Whether that means severing communication, withdrawing your emotional presence, or, if necessary, extricating yourself entirely from the toxic web of the relationship. Beware, for the narcissist will likely intensify their tactics when confronted with steadfast boundaries. They may resort to insidious manipulation, like gaslighting, trying to convince you that you are being unreasonable, that your perceptions are distorted, that you are the true source of the problem. They may provoke you into an emotional outburst, for if they can elicit a reaction, they can reclaim their lost grip on control. Yet, here lies the chilling paradox. Each time you uphold a boundary and refuse to be ensnared in their emotional turmoil, you strip away their power, you expose their impotence, and nothing terrifies a narcissist more than the stark realization that they cannot bend you to their will. Establishing boundaries is not merely a way to reclaim your autonomy. It is a crucial step in resurrecting your true self from the shadows. In a relationship with a narcissist, your identity is slowly consumed, leaving you a hollow shell. You find yourself habitually prioritizing their insatiable needs, managing their volatile emotions, and tiptoeing through a minefield of conflict. Boundaries shatter this cycle. They force you to confront the haunting questions: what do I truly desire? What do I hold dear? What am I willing to accept or cast aside? These inquiries are not just abstract musings. They are acts of defiance against the darkness that seeks to engulf you. With every boundary you establish, you reclaim your dignity, asserting your right to shape your own reality. And here lies a chilling truth. The narcissist cannot thrive in a realm where your boundaries stand firm. Their power is a fragile illusion, reliant on your submission, on your willingness to elevate their twisted reality above your own. The instant you refuse to play the part of the obedient puppet, the entire facade crumbles. They may unleash their fury, attempt to punish you, or even discard you in search of a more compliant victim. But none of these reactions can alter the stark truth: you are free. And in that newfound freedom, you reclaim a part of yourself that they never had the right to take. This is why establishing boundaries is not merely a protective measure. It is an act of defiance. Boundaries signify a deep rejection of the narcissist's perspective, a perspective that values you solely based on your utility to them. Once you recognize that your worth is inherent and not dependent on their validation, you become invulnerable. The single action that dismantles a narcissist's control over you is your refusal to be dominated. Boundaries are the tangible expression of that refusal. They clearly communicate, I am not yours to manipulate. I do not belong to you. Well, when you assert this and support it with your actions, you liberate yourself from their hold. You remind them of the one truth they have tried to deny: their power was always a facade, and the moment you choose not to comply, it dissipates. One of the most significant realizations you will have while breaking free from a narcissist's influence is the transformative strength of indifference. Not anger, revenge, or complex plans to make them suffer. Just indifference. The capacity to emotionally detach and stop reacting to their provocations is the highest form of power. Nothing unsettles a narcissist more than the awareness that they can no longer impact you. The narcissist thrives on your emotional reactions. Whether positive or negative, it makes no difference. What truly matters to them is your engagement. When you respond, be it with love, anger, or sorrow, you affirm their significance. You reinforce their inflated sense of superiority by placing them at the heart of your emotional landscape. This is why they provoke you, why they stir up turmoil, why they fluctuate between charm and cruelty. It's all about exerting control. If they can occupy your thoughts, if they can instill doubt within you, if they can keep you emotionally tethered, they emerge victorious. Because as long as you're reacting, you remain trapped. Indifference is the very opposite of what the narcissist needs to sustain their power. When you stop caring, when their words, actions, and manipulations fail to provoke a response, their entire strategy crumbles. This isn't merely a psychological maneuver. It signifies a deep shift in the power dynamic. When you withdraw your emotional energy from the narcissist, you reclaim it for yourself. You shatter the cycle of manipulation and emotional dependency, extinguishing the fuel that feeds their control. Yet, achieving indifference is a daunting challenge, often leaving you feeling lost and weary in the process. It takes more than just turning a blind eye to the narcissist. It demands a profound shift in how you view them, and, even more crucially, how you see yourself. The reason they managed to manipulate you initially is that, on some level, you allowed their perception of you to hold significance. You absorbed their judgments, their criticisms, their projections, and so their words inflicted pain. Not because they were accurate, but because, deep down, you feared they might be. To truly reach a state of indifference, you must face that vulnerability. You need to ponder, why did their opinion weigh so heavily on me? What part of my being was willing to accept such treatment? These questions are far from easy, yet they are essential, for the journey to indifference wins through the landscape of self-worth. When you truly understand who you are, When you establish your value apart from the narcissist's view, nothing they say or do can shake your foundation. Their insults lose their sting, their manipulations falter, and their attempts to provoke you are met with a haunting silence. But be warned, your indifference will elicit a response. Narcissists cannot bear being overlooked. It feels like a threat to their very existence. When you cease to react, they will intensify their efforts to reclaim control. They may resort to guilt, fury, or feign sympathy. They might attempt to tarnish your reputation, spread falsehoods, or rally others to pressure you back into their grasp. In this struggle, the weight of your own worth hangs in the balance, a bittersweet reminder of the journey you must undertake. These are not indications that you are making mistakes. Rather, they signify that you are on the right path. The narcissist's distress, in response to your indifference, exposes a fundamental truth. Their power was never genuine. It only thrived because you allowed it to. And once you cease to grant it, it dissipates. It's important to understand that indifference differs from apathy. Apathy represents a state of emotional numbness, a closing off of feelings. Indifference, as I am describing it, is a deliberate and conscious decision. It doesn't mean you become indifferent or cynical. Instead, you choose to exclude their opinions from your emotional landscape. You uphold your values, integrity, and ability to love, but you reserve those for individuals who can appreciate them. This is not a sign of coldness. It is the most potent form of self-respect. Additionally, there is something even deeper at play. By fostering indifference towards the narcissist's attempts to manipulate you, you are not only liberating yourself from their control, you are also reclaiming your inner tranquility. You no longer exist in a state of constant alertness, always bracing for their next action. You stop expending energy trying to satisfy someone who will never be content. You release the emotional weight of their dysfunction. In essence, you regain your life, and that is a triumph they cannot undermine. So, how do you start to nurture this indifference? It begins with the understanding that you owe the narcissist nothing, not your attention, emotional effort, or validation. You have every right to walk away without providing an explanation. You have the right to safeguard your peace, and each time you choose not to respond to their provocations, you strengthen that right. You do not owe the narcissist anything, not your attention, emotional effort, or validation. You have the right to leave without explanation. You have the right to protect your peace, and every time you decline to engage with their provocations, you reinforce that right. It takes practice and discipline, but over time, it becomes instinctive. Here's the reality that narcissists cannot tolerate the more indifferent you are, the less control they possess. It doesn't matter how loudly they shout, how cruel they act, or how desperately they attempt to draw you back in. When you choose not to engage and respond to their chaos with silence, you deny them the one thing they cannot survive without: your emotional investment. Ultimately, the most effective action you can take against a narcissist is not seeking revenge, proving them wrong, or exposing their true nature. It is simply this: living your life according to your own terms, without concern for their opinions. Nothing dismantles their illusion of power more thoroughly than the realization that you don't need them, and never did. The ultimate, and perhaps most profound method to dismantle a narcissist's grip on your life is to forge ahead and create a life steeped in purpose, meaning, and independence, not merely existing, but flourishing in a way that renders their influence utterly insignificant. This journey transcends mere escape. It's about evolving into a being they can no longer ensnare psychologically, emotionally, or spiritually. Such a transformation is not just a possibility, it becomes an inevitability if you dedicate yourself to it. A narcissist's power thrives on your entanglement within their twisted reality. When ensnared in their web, your existence shrinks to the confines they dictate. Their volatile moods dictate your tranquility, their judgments warp your self-worth, and their manipulations steer your choices. It's a stifling, claustrophobic existence, one where your identity becomes inextricably linked to their fleeting approval or scorn. This is precisely their design. As long as you remain ensnared in their world, you forfeit the chance to cultivate your own. Breaking free demands more than mere physical distance. It requires reclaiming your right to shape your life on your own terms. It means rediscovering the essence of who you are beyond their shadow. And here lies the part that sends shivers down a narcissist's spine. When you invest in your own growth, when you begin to live with intention, they lose their grip on you. A soul anchored in meaning cannot be swayed by another's chaos. You become impervious, not through brute force, but through the profound weight of your own purpose. Yet, this metamorphosis does not occur by mere chance. It demands deliberate effort. When you sever ties with a narcissist, a chilling emptiness often lingers, a psychological and emotional abyss. They consume so much of your mental space that their absence can leave you feeling unmoored, as if the ground beneath you has vanished. If you're not vigilant, that abyss can ensnare you once more. The urge to reconnect, to seek closure, to make them recognize your worth can be a haunting whisper in the dark. But here lies a grim reality. No explanation you provide, no evidence you present will ever appease them. Their failure to appreciate you is not a reflection of your worthlessness. It is a stark reminder of their own twisted nature. The only way to emerge victorious is to refuse to engage in their sinister game. So, what do you do instead? You fill that gaping void with purpose. You channel your energy into endeavors that resonate with your true values. Be it your career, your relationships, your creativity, or your own personal evolution. You reclaim every ounce of energy you once squandered on their chaos, and redirect it toward crafting a life that is richer and more profound than they could ever fathom. In doing so, you transform from a mere pawn in their game to a master of your own fate. You have broken free from their sinister manipulations. Now you navigate life guided by your own internal compass, and that transformation is everything. It's crucial to grasp that this journey transcends mere superficial success. Narcissists are often fixated on appearances, clinging to the illusion of power and status, but what you are forging runs much deeper. It's about nurturing a life rooted in authenticity, where your worth is not tethered to the fickle approval of others. Such a life is unyielding. It cannot be shattered by a smear campaign or a petty attempt to erode your confidence, for its foundation lies within, not without. And here lies the chilling irony: nothing rattles a narcissist more than witnessing your ascent without them. It dismantles their meticulously constructed facade of superiority. They thrive on the belief that you are incapable of existing without their validation, and when you demonstrate otherwise, not through mere words, but through resolute action, you lay bare their illusion for what it truly is. This isn't about revenge or making a statement. It's about embodying the stark truth that their power was always a mirage, one that collapses the moment you refuse to acknowledge it. There will be times when this path feels desolate and haunting. Leaving a narcissist often means severing ties with an entire web of relationships, habits, and mental constructs that revolved around them. The shadows of your past may linger, but remember, you are forging a new reality, one that thrives in the darkness they once cast over you. However, that is the cost of freedom, and it is a cost that is worthwhile, because beyond that loss lies a life that is entirely yours. A life where you are no longer merely a character in someone else's story, but the creator of your own. In this journey, you uncover something even more precious. You come to understand that the person you are evolving into will never again accept the kind of treatment you once faced. The version of yourself that felt trapped, bewildered, and powerless is gone. In its place stands someone who recognizes their value, not because others validate it, but because you have demonstrated it to yourself through your actions, bravery, and the determination to reconstruct your life on your own terms. This is the single action that completely dismantles a narcissist's influence. It's not about a dramatic showdown or a witty comeback. It's the quiet, unwavering commitment to a life that is so rich, so significant, and so entirely yours that their absence becomes merely a footnote, a testament to how far you have traveled. The ultimate form of revenge is not to bring them down. It is to make them insignificant. When you dedicate yourself to your own development and create a life they cannot affect, you achieve just that. Ultimately, the true triumph lies not in inflicting pain upon them, but in reaching a state where their suffering no longer matters to you. And that freedom, that steadfast, undeniable freedom, is yours for the taking.